Hey footwear fanciers, it's Eddbud here. Today I have for you a 100-mile review and a deep dive into the PUMA Deviate Nitro Elite 2. A shoe that has been an absolute staple in the rotation for me over the last few months. Let's get to it. So this is a shoe that Puma sent over to me for review not all that long ago really, but they're not paying me to make this video for you, nor to wear the shoe. You get my honest opinions as per usual on the channel. I don't work for a shop or a brand in particular, and when I dislike a product, you get to hear about it. So reached 100 miles in this model, and I have to say it's one of the most versatile running shoes I've ever tried out. My pair in a UK 11 or US size 12 are coming in at 250 grams, which is about 8.9 ounces. Now the Nitro Elite 2 from Puma houses a full-length carbon plate, and I have it right here for you. So this is what you get in there. It's not a forked plate or anything, and it's pretty rigid, to be honest. Don't confuse it with what you get in the Deviate Nitro, which isn't quite the same plate. That is like a forked beast. You could eat your dinner with that one. I get a Shore A durometer softness reading of the top section of the midsole of about 22 and then about 30 on the bottom section. So it's slightly softer on the top, firmer on the bottom. The balance of the foams is the different thing between the Deviate Nitro Elite 2 and the Deviate Nitro 2. There's a little less of the softer Nitro Elite material in the mid to forefoot in the Deviate Nitro than in the Deviate Nitro Elite 2. Is that clear? Anyway, those softness scores are well under the average really, and it makes for a very cushioned shoe that's very consistent really. Less of that sort of soft collapse that you get in some of the other very soft shoes, something like the SC Elite 3 or the Vaporfly for example. I've got about 40 millimeters of stack in the heel and about 33 in the forefoot, so it's around about a 7 mil drop here. I think allowing for some manufacturing tolerance. Of course, do remember that depending on your shoe size, the midsole stack will increase or decrease. They're not all the same. That'll be really weird, guys, okay? I am finding the shoe true to size. I always like about a thumb's width of space for my toes at the end, and that's exactly what I've got here in the Puma Deviate Nitro Elite 2. Right, we will start with the upper first. Very simple, and it works exceptionally well for me. It's one that I can grab on a daily basis, pick it up, put it on, tie it up, and it just does the job. I've experienced no issues with rubbing or abrasion in any part of the shoe. Just to prove how simple it is, inside the shoe you've got the power tape here that provides a little bit of structure and some resilience, just some durability in certain sort of parts of the shoe, certainly in the arch area there. Dead simple, and that's why it works. It's not this weirdness about it, it's just a really nice simple upper. Because the mesh is so sort of thin here, and to give it a bit of structure they've put that power tape in there and it just works exceptionally well. I've had some issues with very overly generous uppers in recent shoes. If that's been the case for you, then this will come as a relief. It's a very nuanced design and it certainly fits very well. The padding isn't as minimal as you might expect from a super shoe, but they have implemented a bit of padding there in the heel and it just creates a great lockdown. No rubbing around the heel, and the Achilles is just left nice and open there. The heel counter is pretty minimal back here in the Nitro Elite 2, but it's caused me no problems, and the tongue is perfect really where they've positioned the padding. There's two different areas where the laces can pass through, and I haven't experienced any tongue slip whatsoever. For me, this really is as close to a perfect running shoe upper as you're going to get. I think along with the Hoka Rocket X2, at least these two brands are sort of pushing design forward somewhat. You've got comfort, functionality, and the minimal amount of materials required. Hard for me to score anything really below a 3 out of 3 for the upper after 100 miles. Midsole, midsole, midsole now. So you've got two sections of midsole here that sandwich that carbon plate. I found it an excellent shoe between half marathon and full marathon pace. And the shoe has durable enough foam to be able to use it within training and for racing. You don't need to worry about like storing it away in a glass case or anything, and just get it out time and time again. It just keeps delivering. So the plate here is full length, but it does sit quite a bit closer in the heel than I actually thought it did, though that means the the majority of that very soft Nitro Elite foam there is in the mid to forefoot section of the shoe, so you kind of almost want to aim for that every time with your foot landing. And the plate delivers a really nice sort of push off there. I wouldn't say it's supremely aggressive or anything, but that might be music to your ears out there. Perhaps if some of the other super shoes just feel like they're controlling you rather than you are controlling them. The position of that plate really does well to sort of stabilize the foot strike and lets you roll into that softer foam up front. I believe for lighter runners who are not after that overt squash of some of the other shoes, like Fuel Cell or Zoom X, the Puma Deviate Nitro Elite 2 makes for a superb choice. Just a more engaging ride here, because you feel like you're kind of controlling the pace, like you've got the gear stick. I'd suggest it's a little bit closer to something like the Adios Pro 2 or 3, as to how the midsole just feels a little bit more responsive. It's a little bit firmer in a nice way. I've always suggested the Nitro or Nitro Elite foams are a bit more of a rebound offering. Imagine like hitting a tennis ball or one of those like airflow footballs that's pumped up really hard. Right from the initial Deviate Nitro that I tried out a few years back, this foam has really been a favourite of mine for its quite firm yet still forgiving feel. And this shoe is a real evolution of that. I'm going to be using this one for some 10k racing coming up. In fact, I just want it to be right now. I feel really good. And at 100 miles, I've detected no midsole tearing or damage whatsoever. I mean, just check it out back there. There's very little creasing whatsoever. Can you spot any? No, you can't. Very interesting use of two different layers here of the foam. The very top section is that little bit softer, slightly more firm, not by a lot though in the section underneath. Stable yet cushioned and very enjoyable over a wide range of paces. Easy or recovery like paces for me, around about 8 minutes 30 per mile, through to about 6 minutes a mile for 5k pace. It's just a supremely usable shoe really. I can see many people enjoying this one and getting their money's worth out of it. I'd say it's probably not the fastest for me over 5k, but its mastery of the longer distances from 10k through to the marathon make it a real marvel. That is a big selling point for this midsole. I'll give it a 2.9 out of 3. Outsole now. Now, there's almost no wear to note here in this pair of the Deviate Nitro Elite 2. I've got a tiny bit of wear here on the lateral side of the heel. It's very minimal though, and I'm really not worried about it in the slightest. The sort of raindrop style protrusions here on the outsole really hammer it home. The pattern here is still there in the Puma grips. Quite amazing really. Not every shoe is like this, guys. I try a lot of running shoes out, and this one just, I don't know what they make it out of. Hello there. I'll tell you why, it smells good. No wear there in the mid to forefoot section of the outsole, so I found the shoe exceptionally good in terms of traction on road and pavement. The perforated rubber design with that multi-directional pattern suits some light trails even. On the outsole there's some slight creasing here to the foam, but I don't really feel it's affected the performance in any way. When I've slipped on a brand new pair of the Deviate Nitro Elite 2, I can confirm there's a similar feel. I think that's a testament to the shoe really out the box. It already kind of feels slightly broken in, and at 100 miles this pair feels absolutely fantastic. Puma have done well to keep the rubber here to an appropriate depth. I think they've got the balance right really between surface feel and the rubber depth, and also taking into account weight too. Obviously rubber will be one of the more heavy elements within a running shoe. I found it really good actually on some rubbery tracks. Running around on those over in Boston was really quite something. And on slicker surfaces you don't really feel like you've got any slipping. There's no like tentative traction. It's nothing worse when you've got a running shoe and you put your foot down tentatively thinking you're going to slip. You always feel like you're running with the handbrake on if you can't sort of dig into the ground a little bit. That hasn't been the case in the Deviate Nitro Elite 2 so far. As such, I think race-wise it's better than anything Adidas have got. The smooth rubber that they have on the Adios series is great if you're running on something like tarmac, but I feel this one's just a little bit more versatile. It's going to work for a few more people. Rubber longevity here is certainly better than the Vaporfly 3. That's showing considerable wear and we're nowhere near 100 miles. A 3 out of 3 for the outsole so far. Unmatched performance. Value now. As I said at the start of this video, the shoe has been sent to me by Puma for review. I'm going to be very subjective here in terms of the retail price. I think it's coming in at about £175 here in the UK, and I feel that's a very attractive price for this shoe. Considering the versatility, you can race in it, I think you can train in it, and you don't need to be too worried about destroying your investment. I hear about loads of people, loads of viewers commenting that they've bought pairs of the Vaporfly or Alphafly, just left them in a box. I haven't used them after like months or even a year. They're just too worried about the foam breaking down. This is the type of shoe you can just use every day. What I love about it, it kind of harks back to the traditional running shoes we have, but fusing that with like new elements, all the technological kind of updates and developments that have happened so far. Too many people find the overtly cushioned, very soft super shoes simply too compressive. They're just uncomfortable for them over longer distances. I think this one will suit the lighter runners perhaps who want to get a faster cadence, the longer racers over some more varied terrain, and people who want a do-it-all shoe that will just work for pretty much any pace. I think there's very few shoes actually that offer all of those different things at this price point. Pretty much everything else is a lot more expensive. No weird lacing or sort of uncomfortable designs. Just a pure shoe that's actually one of the most pleasurable to test out so far. I'm going to give it a 2.9 out of 3 for value. I think if Puma can knock off a few grams in the version 3 that's surely going to come later this year, maybe some careful rubber reduction here and there, chopping off some foam perhaps around the heel area, who knows what they'll try next. That gives us a score of 11.8 out of 12 for the Puma Deviate Nitro Elite 2. That is the exact same score I gave it on my initial review. Damn good shoe here and well under the radar. Go and save yourself 50 quid and pick this one up instead of the Vaporfly 3. Have you been enjoying this one, people, or are you going to pick it up? Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. I can safely say that this one is beast approved. Musical interlude time. So an album today that was actually released before I was even born. We have Comes a Time by Neil Young. This is one of Neil Young's more country style acoustic albums. Some really fantastic tracks. The title one is great. There's even a couple of tunes on here with Crazy Horse. Look Out for My Love is particularly good. But the best track is track number 10, Four Strong Winds. Absolutely beautiful version of the song. It's kind of this sweet, very sentimental tune. There's some fantastic acoustic guitar sounds here and some brilliant slide guitar playing as well. The vocal just sounds so real. It really does strike the words home. Just seems to make it mean an awful lot more. Sometimes you hear recent material by different artists and it doesn't really sound like they actually mean the words. I always found Elvis, whatever song he sang, even if they weren't his own tunes, that he always sang it like he meant it, and Neil Young certainly sings Four Strong Winds exactly like that. Go and check it out, guys. Comes a Time by Neil Young. Thanks for tuning in, people. Hope you enjoyed the review. Also, thanks for tuning in general. The views are going through the roof at the moment, and it's all thanks to you guys. Hit that subscribe button, click the bell below for notifications. Also give this video a thumbs up, like, and share it with your running buddies. My name's Eddbud, and I'll be seeing you